Hey, Aris. Never be coming home.
Hi. Okay. So we're gonna be doing stuff a little differently this week. We're not gonna be going over challenges from the day before. We're just because the lectures are gonna be kind of longer and involved, and we're gonna want you to go through the lectures yourself through the day's curriculum. Today's curriculum has you starting up a new project. There's a lot of repetition this week as well. We're gonna make you build Django projects from scratch over and over again. And as you do it again and again, you'll start to get it. It's a lot though. The code here, you can just copy and paste. It's not this, that's everything. That's all the different files. But we're not gonna just copy and paste it because we're not actually gonna get anything out of that. So let's do it line by line, path by path. Let's say path by path. So, Justin, can you explain to me what happens when I open a browser and I hit a Django website?
What do you mean?
What's the first thing that happens when a user opens a browser and hits our website?
If it's just a new Django project, you'll get hit with that, hey, that test website that says, hey, this is all working.
Okay. So this is how we make a project. Django admin, and I saw some people yesterday, they didn't have Django admin. We do, but that's because I installed Django globally. If I had installed it inside a virtual environment, what would happen? It wouldn't be here anymore. I didn't have that environment after. All right. So I'm gonna make a new project with Django admin. And this is all in the curriculum. I'm gonna call it my project. And now I should have my project in there. I'll cd into it. I'll start a virtual environment and activate it. Oh, am I recording? Yes. And source, then, oh, so I have this, I have to check to make sure I'm in the right directory, right? And tab complete to make sure things actually exist. Okay, so now I have my virtual environment activated, and I can install the latest version of Django. So it's building my project here. It's taking a while. So who can tell me what an app is in Django?
It's a part. A project consists of many apps.
A project consists of many apps, yes.
So specifically, it's one functionality that you're trying to implement as part of your overall project.
Mm-hmm.
You can break that up however much or little you want.
We can break up our project.
You want to make a particular app. Ideally, we think about things, we want to break it up into small pieces of process. So one little piece working, another little piece working. Right, that's...
Yep. So today we're going to make a library of books. And we're going to be CRUDing, which is doing these 4 abilities. Once we can do these 4 things, we can pretty much do anything.
Now I got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say we did yesterday's lecture using forms instead of radio buttons. Would CRUDing be an ideal way to update a database with forms versus the radio buttons?
Forms versus radio buttons. Both are forms of CRUD. Both are things that you would want to be able to create, read, update, and delete. It's just a matter of the input style or what kind of input you're using. That's just on the front end. But I mean, I speak too soon. You can make that on the back end too. You can have only certain options be valid for your database. Kind of like radio buttons. All right, where are we?
Just to clarify, what I think I heard you say is that CRUD is independent of the implementation of how you get your data. CRUD is how you bring your data into the database, how you take data out. There are multiple different techniques you can use on the front end, but that doesn't mean that is separate from CRUD itself.
Yes, yes. There's multiple different ways you can store data and retrieve it from the user. But those are all different versions of being able to create records, retrieve them, read them, update them, and delete or destroy them. Once you can do all of those, the user can manipulate the database the way they need to. Okay, so this is the command I use to start an app library, and it's gonna make another directory inside my project. This is gonna introduce a little confusion because inside library, we're gonna make our own urls.py. Did we do this yesterday?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So we have our urls.py in library and also the big urls.py in my project. So they're two different files. If I scroll down, oh, first, what do I need to do to add library to my apps?
You go to settings,
Settings.py, under installed apps. I'm gonna add a library. I'm gonna add a hanging comma because that's the way it is here. And because they're just nice. And in my models, well, first, we're talking about the URLs, right? So to include my URLs in here, which I haven't written yet, I need to go to the big URLs in my project and also include all the paths from this URL file here. So I'm gonna say books is the path that I want to include all my library URLs. And with that, when I go in here, I can, oh, I think I needed to include, I have to import include from Django.urls. In here, it'll look much the same as this. I'm actually gonna go ahead and copy all the correct syntax over and get rid of what's inside. The difference is here, I'm gonna import from views. Oops. You've seen this already, right? This is saying, look in this current directory and import everything from this file as a module. So it's gonna, since we're on the same directory, we'll import everything from here. Now, this goes back to the question I asked Justin. So what's the first thing, Michael, that happens when a user hits my website.
First thing will happen.
Yeah, I'm gonna run the server, and split the window.
How far back are you trying to figure out where you're talking about what the GET request?
Okay, so this is a GET request.
Would that be the first thing when you try to go to the site, the browser generates a GET request, sends it to the server?
Yes, so when you're trying to get a web page, you're gonna make a GET request. You're not posting, you're not submitting data, you just wanna find this resource. When you try and go to the home page, the root page of this server, what happened?
So it tries to
So it goes to, so it looks to the URLs file for the root, sees if the app that you are trying to go to on the web page exists in there,
Yes,
and then
that's right.
either finds it or doesn't.
This is what I want you to remember. This is the main lesson of this week, and we're just going to repeat it over and over again. It's the first thing that happens is the URLs file. The first place it goes is the URL patterns. This is also called the router. It's like a telephone operator. They tell you where to go. So I'm accessing this web page, and the web page, the first thing it does is it looks at this path, which right now is empty, and it goes into myproject.urls. It goes to the router, and it's expecting the router to tell it which view function to call. In Django, they're called views. And in the MVC framework, they're called controllers. So I'm just saying these because it's hard for me to use only the Django terms. So I'm gonna say controller, and when I say controller, I mean views.py. That's where the kind of the brains of the app are. Yes,
So
Sarah?
if I understand it correctly, so when the website is launched, the URL is the PY.
The URL.py. Yes, that's the first place that we look.
And there are you to
And that will,
It doesn't execute you, it points you to where you're going. It has in it a patterns, and when Django is accessed, it actually goes to, I think it goes to
yes, Michael?
the project.
How is it being told to go to the URLs.py? It doesn't seem like I see anything identifying to actually go to that file.
Oh, you don't see anything?
Well, I don't see where it's actually getting the direction to go there. I understand you said start a
Right.
server, and I'm just curious what. It seems like there's a couple steps there I'm just not seeing. If you don't mind.
There is some magic happening.
Okay,
Django itself-
besides magic.
So Django itself actually is running in the server in the background, takes the GET request. From the GET request, it extracts the URL.
Get request, URL.
And then takes the
So with these two
strips the
things,
server name off of the URL, and then tries to see if the rest of that is in the URLs file. That's what Django does in the background, and what the server is doing in the background.
Okay, so is this just magic, or is this actually
This-
visual right here somewhere in those files?
this didn't work. Because when I tried to hit books,
Thank you. I appreciate it.
we hit an error in our server. There was some kind of syntax error. Path is missing two required arguments, the route and the view. Marcos, what's a route and what's a view?
Sure.
All right. So our route, in this instance, we already have books because I have because books is included in this big URL here.
So
I'm including all the URLs from this little library URLs. It's inside the library directory.
Is the route actually just telling it where to go?
Yes.
And then the view is actually saying, okay, whenever I see that you're using this URL, then I want to send a response that is this. This is what it's saying. Right? This is what the user should see.
Yes. So the naming for the routes and the URLs, .py and path, all are pretty intuitive. It's the URL, and it will route you. It will provide the correct path to the correct function to call.
So like you're calling like library or books or whatever.
The function will be a view. That's where the naming gets a little foggy.
No, that's unchanging, right? This would be the same for every Django project.
Yes, this is the same for every Django project. The views will contain the functions that are activated. And which function is activated?
Whatever you tell it.
Whatever URL.
Right. Whatever URL route is activated. I'm going to give it a route and a view. Views dot, I'm going to say book list. Now when I try and run it again,
You gotta create the method.
it's, yep. So library.views has an attribute book list. Well, that's easy. And now it has a book list, kind of.
Jordan, did you just have a moment there?
All right, so it's warning me I have 17 unapplied migrations.
Oh, my
Oh, go back.
URL.
Which URLs .py?
This down.
Library?
Yeah, so what did you do there? So explain the path.
All right. Path requires 2 arguments, the route and the view. I'm giving it a route, oops, and the route is going to be nothing. It's going to be empty string, like slash.
And that's going to be like basically that's going to be like if you put in
Like this. Right now this is empty, and if this were to say something,
Something would be the route.
this would be the route. Right now the route is an empty string.
So that's why you would have like that's the index, right? That's like okay, this is the variable.
So now this works kind of because I set up this route and it calls this function.
So now it's saying it's calling the views.book.
So now I have an error. Yes, so the Django automatically called book list with 1 argument. They gave it an argument, but when we declared it, it just didn't take any arguments, so it has an error. The request. All right, what do we want to do with this request? Well, this error will change first of all, right? So let's see what it changes into.
Let's give it an HTTP response.
An HTTP response?
You gotta import
Import it from where?
Utils or something?
I'm going to skip the HTTP response, and I'm going to use render. Okay, and I'm going to import that. I already did. It's automatically part of views.py. I'm going to render. Oh, I'm going to return it because it's Python. Render. What am I going to render?
Can you just render a string?
A string?
Hello world? I don't do hello world.
I do hello world too much.
Yeah, well, I think everybody does. Just, it seems to
It's better than a fluent bar.
By world or something.
Okay.
You want that Chicago exit?
It still didn't return HTTP response object. That's not too helpful.
From Django.http import.
Well, render has to take
response.
request and a template name. And I'm going to call this books/booklist.html. All right. Now I have to make a templates folder to hold all my templates. And inside there, I'm making a books directory in case I have other things to CRUD. This is books. And inside here, I'm going to make a booklist.html. And I'm just going to
There you go. Mike, that was fantastic. Thank you.
okay. And let's see if, oh, we found it, okay. Now, can we walk through again what's happening? Step by step. This browser is making a GET request to books. This is my website. Here I don't have anything set up. And this is showing because I have debug turned on in Django. If you turn it off, it'll look a lot prettier for the user. But here we have hints for developers to point us to what the problem is. When I go to get this URL, John, what's the first thing that happens in my Django app?
The Django app, the first thing that happens is get the GET request for that particular path. Checks the URLs, see if the path exists.
It checks the URLs where?
It checks the URLs at the project first, and then it redirects it according to the
okay.
path
Oh,
name
it's here.
To the library URL, so it's rerouted.
So look here.
And once it hits library URLs, it checks the path name again. So
okay.
we don't have any actual books. Well, yeah, if there's nothing after books, that's what it's saying.
Nothing after books.
So it hits books, and then there's
nothing
after books, so it redirects to views to look for the book list method. The book list method.
Oh, that was fancy. I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, what'd you just do?
I accidentally pressed on the keyboard when I clicked on the command key.
Oh, cool.
Whoa.
So
Use.
command click, and it'll actually take you to where it's
Yeah, it turned into a link. That's
Mind
a little too fancy for me.
I'm
Okay.
going to be abusing the hell out of that.
Until it takes you to some crazy thing.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I'm going to change this. No, don't change just the automatic Django things. Okay.
Could you go to my project URLs? I'm sorry, when we went through that was really quick. I just wanted to see that. My project URLs.
Yes.
Start where it was. All right.
So what this line is saying is, it's saying,
There's the path books. Okay, because the whole
When
time we're
you
looking
have-
at the other one, you say, well, it
yeah,
says, I'm like, wait a minute, but there is
I wish they were
nothing
called
right there
different
for the same
names,
book, so
but they're
now I
both
see it.
the same
Okay.
name of a file, urls.py.
And then at that point, it's a library. Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Mike, why can we not directly reference the templates from this URL file? Why do we need to jump to another URL file?
We can,
Is that standard?
we
Just
could, but it actually allows you to subdivide it so each project keeps track of its own URLs instead of having a God function. that
Part of the way
knows
Django is
everything.
organized with the apps, like Ethan is saying, there's several different apps, and when you build your own, chances are you'll only have one at first, but it's good to try and think ahead and try and organize. And this is how Django's framework is set up. So we just follow this pattern, and it'll make our apps hopefully scale better in the future.
I was just making sure it was a practice thing and not a requirement thing.
Yeah, you can find a way around it. Please do.
No, I'm down to follow practice. It's just it helps me to know what's for
What it's for.
debugging, for debugging, you know, like what is required and what is good practice.
Looking at that, I would say you could do /books and then say that instead of including the libraries and URL, just tell us simply go to libraries.books.
All right.
But the problem with doing that is that you end up with one method that controls everything, and one little bug in that crashes the whole site.
You do want to split things up and make things modular.
Understood.
All right. Okay.
Right.
Yes?
Go to the first one.
The
we're
first
trying to answer
one.
your question.
This.
Yeah. He needs to go back to his question, which.
Okay.
No, the first one.
No, that is the first one. The second one's
This
actually
is the
what it's leading to,
main
so
one.
library URLs.
This is the parent one, and it'll have children. It'll look in the library folder.
You know this one.
He's
The
talking about
first
the
URL.py on top of
URL.py.
That one.
This one here, library.urls.
Yeah, that one.
This one,
Yes.
it'll detect the empty string, and it'll call a function. It's almost like it's doing this.
So this only works when when a route is empty.
No, this works when a route is full. I think the syntax. Yeah, sure.
So what he's saying, so when you cross the host, it has nothing.
Oh,
So it just says localhost. There's nothing, right? It's in books.
I don't know.
The first one is the one who was just part of it. It
So
actually
this
says
is
books, and then it goes to here, but there's nothing of it. So it's automatically saying, okay.
So if I want to go to full stylus,
Okay.
do you want to walk me through a route?
Outside, saying, okay, don't want to look at books, but there's nothing directed after books. So there's nothing directed saying, look at my book list.
I have book
So
lists
then you
here.
can then click, and then that.
Hey, Mike.
I'm sorry. Am I trying?
Let's have Silas walk us through a path, another path. So I'm making another path,
There you go.
and it's called full. There's something here. It can be anything I want.
Okay.
And I'm gonna call not book list, but a different function out of views. It's gonna be called Silas. All right. So Silas, can you walk me through maybe making something in a different page that doesn't say goodbye world?
So you go to views
You go to views,
and you
create a function. Silas. All right. And it's gonna mirror this kind of function here.
So
Request. Return.
does it have to be the same HTML file?
It can be the same HTML file. But we don't want it to be because we don't want it to say goodbye world. We want to say
To be something
Do
else.
we just want to just do a response to see it, or do you want to make much more files that we can understand? Just to show that there's a difference to what happened.
So inside these functions, you can do anything you want. And this is where you're going to manipulate your database or retrieve records from your database and pass it onto these templates that we render, but except we'll give them variables. So they'll change depending on what we pass them. But here, let's just make a new HTML file.
What do you want to call it?
Anything.
It's called the silence file.
Silas file.
Silence and silence.
The HTML. All right. Now this one is in books/book list. So inside my templates, I have a books folder and a booklist.html. So Silas, where do I put? I'm picking on Silas too much. Dan, Where do I put this stylus file.html?
Well, under templates, you can add another folder for the
Okay.
HTML.
Well, here I haven't put a folder. I just set it out right. Just the name of the file.
Just an HTML.
Yeah. Maybe HTML.
So this is just gonna look in my templates folder.
So you look in the templates folder. And then, do you need a new folder for the HTML files?
No, no
So
new
just put a
folder.
New file, put a new file, and
If I had specified a new folder,
then you would have put a new folder there. Put the name.
then it would look like that.
Yeah,
But-
just make a new file, HTML file.
Since I didn't, I'll make the file here.
Style.
I keep doing that.
And put the header.
What's it gonna say, Silas?
Goodbye, Platoon.
No.
That's rough, John.
I will miss you, Platoon.
There we
How about
go.
that?
That's
A little bit.
Just keep.
So you see how it's changing?
So instead of books, I'm gonna go to, where am I gonna go?
Silas is the.
Something.
Oh, yeah, something, yes, something.
I'm gonna go here. So that's, you can't just try and remember what it was called. You have to actually look at your routes and see where they're pointing. So I'm gonna go to something.
Something. Would it not be posted something?
Okay, let's try. Is it? Let's see. I think you're right.
I think it's books.
Something doesn't work. And if you read the error, it actually tells you where it's trying to look.
Yeah, admin or books.
Oh, it tried here, and it tried here, or this didn't match any of those. But this matches one of those.
Hey.
And
Something.
there's silas.html, or silas file. Okay, that's how you're gonna set it up, and that's the order you have to go. You have to look at your URLs file, your router, and then define a view function that will be run when that URL is hit, when that URI is accessed. Okay.
What's the optional third parameter?
So why did you need the books for pending?
Oh,
Yeah, those name equals.
yes, a named route. So
And
a named
that's-
route. Yes, that's a nice thing that frameworks give us. Why would we want a named route?
Just so that you could just call it based on reference it elsewhere within your
Yes. So if I could just hard code this, if I made a link somewhere in my book list.
book.
Gosh. So I have a link here. And when I click on my link, if you look at the very bottom left, you see localhost 800/books/something. And I can click on my link and go here.
Can you show me that?
That's because you did
The code is,
Thank you.
this is a relative
My
path.
link, got it. I see what you mean.
Because I didn't have a slash at the beginning, this would be an absolute path. This is a relative path. So it's gonna look at where it is now and go to something, /something. And right now I have it hard coded. So if I were to change my mind and say something is a terrible name, something is a terrible name, I'm gonna call it Silas. Now my link is broken. That's really inconvenient. If you imagine I have a big website with thousands of links, and I have to find out which one of those links I broke when I changed my route. That's very inconvenient. So we have something called named routes. When we give this route a name, we can use a Django shortcut, which I can't remember the syntax for off the top of my head. So I'm gonna go to the curriculum, yesterday's curriculum. And where is it? There's a URL. There it is. So
Should it be the directory name and then
okay, we're gonna go over action later, but
You actually have to name your app name.
App.
So in views.
in views,
App view. Or is it your
views,
I'm sorry, URL.
URLs.
The other URL.
The other one, I'm gonna go ahead and close this one.
So above URL patterns, what we did yesterday, we just said app_name is equal to, and
App name equals, oh, interesting.
then from there, so that way you could, within that syntax, you'll see that it has app colon,
App colon.
app colon.
Okay.
URL.
Now, in my book list, instead of hard coding the URL, if I give it this interpolated Python, but I haven't done the app name yet.
So you just has a silence. It should work.
And I should just pass it Silas. I don't need to give it any variables. And maybe this will work. Now we can hit Silas's page no matter what the URL actually is. So if we changed it, oops. If I click this link now, it'll direct me to the right page, regardless of what the URL needs to be. All right. It's been a little while. Let's take a 10-minute break, and we'll be back at 11.
Okay, 12 minutes.
12 minutes.
You got your name all over the board. Are you trying to correct them?